Okay, here we go. I'm going to put the hook in the vise. It's a big Mustad 7731 Sea Demon hook. Small marlin hook I'm going to use. I'm using my wife's best black jacket here, so please don't let her know we got it out in the workshop. She'll be totally peed off. Right, blood knot, here we go. There's the eye of the hook. Here's the tag end of your fishing line. You just go straight through the eye, leave about, I don't know, 3 inches. Put your finger in the loop here, and then just roll what we call the tag end. This is called, the loose end's called the tag end in fishing line. You go through there 5 times. Okay, I'll try and do this as slow as I can so you can see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the tag end goes back through the hole that I've already opened with my finger. Okay, like this. Now that's going to want to burn and stick on itself. So what you generally do is put some spit on there, which for those with a squeamish disposition, look away now. I've put a spit on my fingers, put a bit of spit on there, and that should slide down nice and tight. I'm going to pull it with a pair of pinchers, just like that. That'll snug it right up, and pull it really, really, really tight there. Another little tug just to make sure it's gone down like that. You can also slide the barrel knot down with the pinchers if you want. You might fracture the line there. Now that's just a general standard fishing knot for most purposes that you go in, you know, freshwater fishing, bait fishing, sea fishing, whatever. Now I don't like to snip it off close there. I like to leave about what I call 1/8 of an inch and just snip it here about level with the outside eye of the hook. Bang, that's off. So that's your standard knot. That's a standard one. Now I'm going to pull this unbelievably hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it slide or not, but let's do the vise out. This is, I want to show you something. That's as tight as I can get the vise. I'm going to work it and work it and work it. It won't come, it won't come, it won't come. There, right, now that's what I wanted to do. Now this you cannot get away from, folks. That is the telltale sign of a fishing knot that has slipped. So when you lose a fish, if you get that, there's one person to blame. That's the guy that tied the knot. Okay, so if you get this, that means something's cut through. You've been on a rock, a snag, or something with teeth is cut through cleanly. But when you get this, that's down to one person, the knot tire. So although that blood loop under normal conditions probably wouldn't slip at all, I was putting undue pressure on it. I'm going to tie it again with what's called a tuck blood. Now this is exactly the same. You go round, put your finger in the gap, you go round and round 5 times. Alright, now you put it through the hole as per normal. So it's gone through the hole, but you notice I've got my finger, I've made a secondary hole back here. So I've gone through this loop and then I'm folding it back, do it really slowly, and I'm going through that loop there. Just like that. Now that is called a tucked blood. Now this one, a little bit of spit on the end there, just to make it slide down. This one, I can pull right down easily like that, and snug it up nice and tight. This one, I can assure you, I have to take a photograph. Right, now I've got 70-pound line. That's as hard as I can pull without... it's cutting in my fingers. I don't want to put gloves on, you're just going to have to take my word for it. But that's in a vise. I'm putting 40, 50 pounds of pressure on there. That has not moved. It's called a tuck blood loop. Now, any knot with a load of wraps around it is going to want to frictionalize, I call it, in here. It's going to want to burn itself. So that's where you put the spit on. Otherwise, when you pull it down, it heats up and bites into itself and it can break. So a bit of spit on any wrapped knot with a lot of turns helps it slide down. So same procedure, just the width of the hook here, just that width there. Just snip the end off and leave that tag end up. The fish are going to take that whole piece of metal. They're not going to be worried about this little piece here. So there you have it. That is a tuck blood loop. That's the one to use for most of your fishing. This one, I call it, well, it's called the uni knot. Again, it's for sort of bait fishing, lures, anything like that. It's a pretty basic knot, but it's a good one because it doesn't slip much. Tag end comes up through the eye of the hook. bring it round, leave yourself a good, 3-4 inches here to work with, maybe a bit longer. So you pinch, use your fingers and just pinch it so the tag end and the main line are both parallel. And then you just roll the main tag end. I'll see, but it's difficult for me to tie this because I'm trying to work around the camera. 1. Okay, it's out. I'll do it very, very slow for you. 2. Come out. 3. Nearly. Come on. And I go through there 4. I know some people use 5 or 6, but I use 4. There's 4. Okay, now you can see the turns there. They want to touch up like this, up to each other. Now what I'm going to do is to pull this way on the main line. The main line is going to pull while retaining that tag end in my hand here. I'm going to sit. I'm sliding my finger down at the same time as rolling up underneath my thumb. I can feel the knot rolling under my thumb, so it pinches up. And what it'll do, it'll be a sliding knot. As you can see, I'll pull it a bit closer for you. There's the knot. So the knot's formed there. You can pull this, wrap it around. You can pull that as hard as you want. And now just watch it slide down. A little bit of spit around there, help it slip. Watch, you'll see it slide now. You push it with your thumb as well. Look, beautiful. Just snugs in there. Pull it as tight as I can. And then get the tag end with a pair of flies and just rock it backwards and forwards like this. Okay. Again, the tag end with this one doesn't stick outwards. It doesn't stick out here. It faces more along the shank. Now you can snip it off a little bit closer, but I still don't like doing that. I still like about there. I like to leave that little tag in there just in case anything does give under there. Now this one, we'll take a few wraps and we'll give it the treatment. Now I just saw that move a fraction where it all cinched up tight, but it does not slip out. That is 40-50 pounds. In fact, the bench is moving. Uni knot, remember that one. That's a great one. Now, there's another one I use if you're live baiting when you don't want the knot actually biting into the hook. Well, it's not biting into it, it's biting, it's fixed onto that eye. You want a swivel knot, you want a loop knot, because you might be fishing with a lure. Let's take that one out and we'll start again. Okay, then this one is a knot for tying a lure or a hook to a live bait where you want the hook to swivel around and move around a lot, and you want what I call it the loop knot. So you need to take, say, 3 or 4 inches, just make a single overhand knot. Don't pull it tight. Just pull it down just like this, okay? The tag end here goes up through the eye of the hook. Now, I don't know, I'll move my hand so you can see it this way. And you put the tag end back through the loop of the knot, okay? To about, let's say, almost a thumb width there. Pinch the two together. Take the tag end around 2, 3. I'll go through 4 times. Other people might use 5 or 6. I think that's enough. Now here's the important bit. Go back through that knot you've tied. You're going back through that knot hole you've tied there. Okay. Now you can see the loop I've formed. So if I pull the tag in now, let's give it a little bit of spit as per normal. Get it to slide down. If I pull the tag in, I'll do it with pliers so you can see exactly. Now that gets my hand out of the way. See the knot starting to bite down? Pull it right down there. That's tight, okay? Now, I'm going to give this a treatment. It's going to get... I can't move it anymore, but you can see it's pulled down tight, and then all you do, just snip that tag end off. Get the right cutters so you can see it. And again, I leave 1/8 of an inch, I call it, to allow for any movement whatsoever. Now you can see here, let's take the hook out of the vise. You can see here, look, see how the hook just swivels? Now if you had a lure, if you were using a lure, you want that action, you want that swiveling, you want that movement. You don't want a knot that holds the hook rigid. So if you have a live bait, you want it loose, hanging around here. It's called, I call it a loop knot. I've no idea what the real people call it, the specialists, but it's a totally awesome loop knot. So that's one you can use for live bait fishing or for your lures if you want plenty of movement. That's the one to use, loop knot. Okay, next one I'm going to show you, I call it a snelled hook. That's S-N-E-L-L-E-D, snelled hook. You use them for mackerel feathers, making up your mackerel feathers, or a lot of people use them for bait fishing. Now I'm going to have a trouble tying this one. I have to lean right round the camera, coming from the other side. Let's start that again. So I'm going through the eye here. Leave a good 4 or 5 inches, 6 inches. Then you're going to roll this loop back. I'll move my hand so you can see the loop. You've got a loop there. I'm going to just keep my finger there. And I'm going to roll the main tagline, the tagline around the main line, butting it up from the eye, back of the, or the base of the eye of the hook. That's 2 turns, 3 turns, 4 turns. I'm only doing 5, but you can do more if you want. Some people like to use more. Then make sure that this loop's not twisted up. Put the tag end through that loop. Okay. Now, do not let it all go. I've got it. I'll get my fingers out of the way. I've got pressure on the tag end, and I'm going to a little bit of spit on everything. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't go adrift. I'm going to pull downwards on this one, and it should slide. You should start to see the loop slide out of my fingers. There you go. And it's going to watch. It's going to pull this tag end tight. Now what happens is it all slides and butts up against this. It's what we used to use on spade end hooks, and a spade end hook doesn't have an eye, it just has a flattened end to the end of your hook here, which is, you know, we use it for a lot for small fish fishing, but you can use it as well. And I'm going to take my other hand away, give it a good pull down or a good few wraps. Now you can see this not really bed in, but get your pliers, work against that, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards, while you're under pressure on that tag line. Let's give it the treatment, guys. Yeah, it's not moving. It's not moving, and it's not intended to move. Again, don't go down here, 1/8 of an inch, about there. Snip, job done. Now that's quite rigid. That's what I call a rigid knot. There'll be no movement around the eye with this. The pull when you strike comes straight down and is transmitted straight along that shaft in a straight line. Absolutely in a straight line there. If you had it tied through the eye, you can pull sideways, you know, whatever. It rotates around this rim of the eye. This one, it's located through the eye, but it doesn't roll around too much. It's pulled from further back, and that is a really strong knot. Okay, so I call it a snelled knot. And there is a variation on it. To get it off, to get that knot off, get a box cutter or Stanley knife, bing, just cut those knots off. Job done, we'll move on to the next one. Okay guys, now this is my absolute best knot. This is my absolute best knot. I use it all the time, more than any other knot. It's called the Albright Special, and it was designed by a Florida guiding captain, Jimmy Albright, for joining lines of different diameters. I have the 70 here in bright orange, and I have 50 in clear here. Now I use this for joining lines of the same diameter, and it still works. I use it all the time if you're joining lines together, adding leaders, that sort of thing. Okay, don't know if we're going to get this on the camera, but let's come right round behind the camera and get you set up there. Here's the thick line. This one's a thick line here, the orange stuff. The orange stuff's a thick line. We're going to make a loop over, just like that. Just going to make that loop, pinch that together. Then I'm going to put through the leader, the trace, whatever you want to call it, the join, and I'm going to pinch it, just like this. This is the remaining section of the leader or line I want. This here, as you can see, is the tag end. I'm going to take the tag end around the all three lengths there. There's 3 lengths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 9. Okay, you're pinching everything, especially this left hand thumb. Look how I'm pinching the loops to stop them unraveling. There's the loop I'm going to go through. Now I take my tag in and I put it through that loop, pull it tight. Okay, this is definitely a spit one, but I'm going to try and pull it as much as I can, because If I go too far, I'm going to let go, it's all going to fall. I'm pulling on the main line now, I'm holding the tag end together, everything's been held. Just look up here and watch that coil start to close down. Okay, now you might be able to see it. I'm going to risk putting some spit on it. Hasn't fallen a bit, so I'll put some spit on it for you. And I'm trying to do this all in one go. I'm easing it and easing it and easing. Now look what a beautiful knot that's making. You can gradually pull it down with your nail, but you'll get most of the tension. Now I've let go of this tag end. I've let go of this tag end, so I've got the two tag ends left over. This here is the 70 and this here is the 50. Now let me just go the other side of the camera and I can give it a really good pull. Now look at it binding down. Look, it's moving, pulling right down on itself there. And all I do is get, obviously you do this with your fingers normally, the line's so thick I'm trying to pull it neat for you because it's £70 line, just so you can see it. Now this one, this is a beauty. This one you can actually snip off. I use it for fly traces as well. That goes off there. And we go off there. Now, I don't know whether the camera's going to pick that out as a really, really neat barrel touching turns knot. And that one is about as good as it gets. That has all touching turns along there. So it's nice. It's a neat knot. Now you can also, if you wanted, you can just melt those tag ends down if you wanted, with either a hot knife or just putting a lighter there. You run a risk of fatiguing this line here, you know, weakening it. I'm going to give it a pull. There we go. Now that's pulled down nice and neat, and you can see that goes through rod guides. You even snip it off a little bit more there. There's tiny little tag bits. That is a nice neat knot. That is my favourite knot without a doubt, and I use it for joining the same diameter lines, but Jimmy Albright, the guy, the captain, designed that for leaders of different diameter. It's really good if you had, say, £30 fly line, £30 leader to your fly line, you want to scale it down. Okay, I want to add a piece of £10, that's fine, and you peel off £10, you go all the way down £10, say put 2 or 3 feet on, you make your loop, you do your barrel rips, and you put from here down to say £4. So you can actually make tapered leaders with this yourself. And it's also good for joining line if you have a line break. I like that one. There is another one, and we'll take a look at that as well. This is the Albright. Okay, so you want to tie a double line. That means if you get a big fish, if one section breaks, it rolls up over the trace, the second section will hold it. So you take, I'm using, let's call this orange £70 line, let's call this my reel line. So I'm going to tie this really, really short, just so you can see it. It's basically called a surgeon's loop, and effectively it's a double overhand loop, but it'll give me a double line. Normally I would tie this, it could be 8, 10, 12 feet long, this double line. So you got your big looper line, bearing in mind from here to here is 12 feet. Come on ladies, use your imagination. I'm trying to help you here. Just get both doubled lengths and roll it over, put the whole of the loop, you're going to have to feed the whole loop through here. I'm just doing it easily because I'm tying it short so you can see it. That goes right the way through once, but don't do it once, do it twice. Put the main loop, feed all your line all the way through here, and then it'll roll over on itself, and the usual little bit of spit, and pull it tight. There we go. Now I've got nothing to pull against here, so let's loop that again and try and pull that really tight for you. That's it. Now it's pulled down. Now my guess is that they use that possibly in hospitals in some way, shape or form to tie off people's operations, and that's why they call it the surgeon's loop. I have no idea, but that there is a surgeon's loop, and it gives you effectively the doubled line here. Now to the end of this you're going to put a swivel, but you don't just use an ordinary knot, you use what's called an offshore trolling knot. This is what it looks like. Okay, here we go again. Here's your swivel. Now this is a Sampo ball bearing swivel, a very strong snap swivel here, like that. Obviously it can apply to any sort of fishing, but generally if you're going for big fish it's going to be a Sampo or an equivalent ball bearing swivel. Now they have, because they're very good quality, if you can see that there, they have a weld mark there. So I put the weld on the inside of the actual casing there. So it's a nice smooth bit of metal on the outside. Right, now what you're going to do is you're going to take your knot from here. Imagine this is still 10, 12, 15 feet long. Pinch the line and you're going to pull that line so it's equidistant. It's coming down parallel till you get to the end loop here. Okay, so it's nice and neat. You haven't got one length longer than the other. And then you push the loop through like this. I might actually have to come around. Hold on a second, guys. I'm going to try and do this over this side. I don't know whether you're going to see this. So then, that's how it's laying, the swivel. You rotate it over, just turn it over like that, with one twist, and put the loop on the other side. You can see the double loop there? So it's two loops where my finger is. And then you put the swivel through there, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Right, okay. You know what's coming next? A good lot of spit. And this one does take a bit of pulling down. You're going to have to work it with your thumb. So here we go. We're going to try and work this down. I'm just going to tease it. The sticking point, get some more spit, is there. Just up here. So we're going to ease that down. Just like this. It's very difficult to pull it over in front of the camera. There's the knot going down. Oh. Okay, you can also do the tweak on the inside with your thumb like this. And there we go. That is the offshore trolling knot. Now this can attach to your shark trace, your marlin lure. In this case, I'll show you, it's going to go through the hook eye here. Like this. There you go. And so you imagine this is going to be your trace to your marlin lure, your shark trace. Close it up, and there is a really nice little neat knot there. And I'm sure the vise is done up. And you can see, there you go, I'm going to give it a bit of juice. Yeah, that's never moved. I'll probably bend the hook out of position before it moves. Oh. Right, now what I want to show you is, down this way to the other end is your shark or marlin trace. The fish rolls up and his body goes around this 8 or 10 feet of double line. Now normally, if that was single, if he rolls up and breaks it, snap, gone, you've lost the fish. But the idea of the double line is, under pressure, if something just breaks there, I'm going to cut this one, watch, bang. One double line's been broken by his, say, his rough skin of the marlin or shark, but I've still got the fish on the 50. I've lost one, it's broken, I'm still on the second one. And do you know what, I've had 3 or 4 times when I've had big marlin roll up on a trace, they bust a yellow line, and I've still caught them because I've had the one single. So there you have the surgeon's loop to make your double line, and you have the offshore trolling knot which goes onto the swivel. Alright, if you want to crush it off, no problem, there you go. The next one is, should you have a breakage and you want to tie 2 pieces of line together, double blood loop. So this is one length of line, there's the other. Put a loop in one. There we go. Let's get that in the center of the lens. Put a loop in one and take the tag line through the other side. Okay, hopefully you'll be able to see this, just like that. You can see it there. Now I'm going to do the standard blood loop. 5 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I put it back through the loop. Oh, nearly lost it then. That's pretty difficult to do a 70-pound line, but at least you can see it. Start the loop, a little bit of spit as we know, push it down. So you've got 1/2 of a blood loop there. I'm just going to tug that down a bit for you. Obviously you're using ordinary fishing line, it's much easier. Then this other one is then sliding up and down. As you can see, it moves up and down. So now I'm going to do exactly the same with the opposite end of the line. 3, 4, 5. Tag ends here. It's going back through that loop. Through there. A little bit of spit. Tricky to do in front of the camera with thick line, but we're getting there. Pull it down. I've got it tied to a fish hook there. Get my nail on it. Give it a little tug. There we go. Pulls it down nice and tight, and they both butt up against each other. But I'm still going to give it a major bit of pulling so it goes right down on top of each other. You can feel it move, this knot. Now this one leaves the tag ends sticking up perpendicular to the line. I don't really like that. So I'm going to snip them, but I'm also going to try and melt that back a bit to make a little blob on the end so they can't pull through. Okay, now what I suggest you do, if you've not done this before, just take a tag end piece of nylon, put the lighter down and just watch the end of it. Just dab it against the flame. Can you see it? There, and you can put a bit of spit on it, like that. Say burn your finger. It just leaves a little tag end there. So we're gonna give it a go. So I'm going to snip off about that much. That much. Now, will you see this or not? I'll try and hold it to the camera so you can without setting my finger alight. Just watch that tag end gradually go back. Wet your finger, push it. Okay. There we go. Wet your finger, dab it, otherwise it's going to stick to you. Now that makes a much smoother knot there. And that's what you do, just with the lighter, just slowly, don't melt the line here. So that's a double blood knot, and that's designed to join two pieces of line if you have a breakage. Okay, an alternative method of joining two pieces of line together like this. Quick and easy, an overhand knot in one end of the line, keeping that knot pretty well down the end of the tag end area there. Same in the other piece of line. For joining two pieces of line, or rope it's actually used for, but I've used it fishing as well. So you've got two overhand knots, okay, in the two separate pieces of line. Now take one end and you make another overhand knot, but you don't pull it tight. You can see that one there. You put your other end of the line through that, hold it parallel like this, and you're going to go round and you're going to make an overhand knot on the other side. So you then pull this knot down tight against the shank and this knot down tight there. Proverbial spit in between, and just give them a little tug to get those knots bedded a little bit. Now if you watch these two, I'll pull them very, very slowly just here. Watch them close up. There we go. And those two should roll together. I'll hold it as well. Bang. Did you see that? They absolutely roll together there. And the same principle applies. You can melt them with a lighter if you want, or you can just snip those ends off there. Nice and neat. It makes a little bit thicker knot than a double blood, but do you know what it's called? It's called the fisherman's knot. Now that's got to be worth using by any angler, and it's really strong. Okay, now this one's called the Palomar knot, which is usually for tying a hook on. There's plenty of different knots out there. This one is quite popular. Just make a loop in the end of the line, just like this, just a loop. Now you put that loop through the eye of your hook, okay? Keep it about yay big. It's got to be longer than the end of the bend of the hook. And then you're just going to do an overhand knot without pulling it tight. Just tucking that through there, just like that. So you're just like that. You can see how long that loop is here. It's quite long. And then you just tuck the loop like that. Hook goes back through the loop. Okay, so it's through there. I'm going to turn it upside down. You should be able to see the knot pull down here. Then you pull both together, and then you pull, other than once those doubles here have tied down, you just pull the single, and that one goes down over everything. I'm going to pick up the two again because I want to give it a good pull. And that one is called the Palomar, Palomar, and I'll just snip that off for you. That's the Palomar knot, very, very strong knot. It's just another fish hook knot, but nevertheless, pretty neat one, quite easy to tie, and a nice straight knot as well, a nice straight knot, the Palomar. Okay, the other one is for fly fishermen that want to fish a team of flies, or for sea fishermen that want to put more than one hook on the line. It's quite easy, you don't need to do it for with swivels and anything like that. You can do it straight onto the line. So your fly would be down here, or your bottom hook. The rest of the leader is all the way up here. So measure off, say, 15 inches for argument's sake. That's about what I'd want to fish a fly apart. And then you cut a spare piece of the same leader material, or whatever leader material you want to use. I'm using this just showing you. It might just be 5 or 6 pound line. Let's say about 10 inches. So there's the end of your fly line, just there. And there's the overlap piece. So what you're going to do is just get that tag end around about here. Pinch it together. It's dead easy, this one. Roll it over, just making a loop like this. Just make that loop there. And then bring both the tag end, I'm going to call it, and the end of your fly leader through that loop. Let's say 3 or 4 times. 4 times might be nice. Now that was going to need wetting. I'll just put a bit of spit on there. I'll pull down. Then you pull them down. You'll see them overlap like that. And as you pull them and stretch them, bear in mind this is in 70-pound mono, so it's not easy, but at least it will show you. Okay. The short piece at the front here, you just snip off, and there you have your fly on the end here, and you measure off the end of your dropper, which might be, let's say, there. You can use small hooks for sea fish, bream, gurnard, anything like that, and you can see there's no swivels on that, nothing to spook the fish. It's just a straight dropper. Very, very easy to do. And I'll just quickly, if I can do it quickly, just to give you an idea, I'm going to spin another one on here just to show you. So you just hold the two like that, the short piece, make your little loop, and you're going to pull everything through, both the full leader and the tag end. Pull that through. Made myself a labour of love here now, trying to get that through that small hole, because I tried to tie it very short just while I was hoping to show you 2 in a row, which we might or might not get to. Pull it down. Oh, I have no fingers left at this rate. Snip off the short, what I call sort of the upstream end, as it were. There is, you got, I'll stroke them out, now you can see them. Now you should be able to see them properly. 2 droppers there, 2 droppers. So that, I call them dropper links if I want to fish a team of flies. So I've got 1 fly off of this one, come along, and then I've got 1 fly, bing, off of that one, and then I've got my tail fly here. But of course you can still use all of these for bream, gurnard, any sea fish. Hook here, hook here, hook here, drop it down on the one trace, and they make, as you'll see there, really nice little knot. Very nice, nice and neat, and it stands off from the main line. Okay, this is the next one we're going to be using. It's going to be tying a fly line here. It's for trout fly fishing. A fly line and attaching your lead to it here. That's what it's going to be used for. And it's called the nail knot. I wonder why it's called the nail. Anyway, I can't tie it in that 70-pound. I've already tried it, so I'm going to try and tie it for you in 30-pound high vis. So you take the end of your fly line, roughly towards the end of the nail. And I take a tag end with about 6 inches left over of my leader. I'm pinching it in there, and I'm going to start wrapping it around both of those. I might have got a nail that's too big, but I'm trying to do this to show you. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there it is. There's 6 wraps around there. Here's your line, here's the fly line, here's the leader. Now what I'm going to try and do is go in through there, the gap. You just have to sort of slacken off those coils a little bit and feed the line down through the middle by the nail. It's just coming out the other side. I envisage this one being a real pain to tie for a camera. And now I'm going to pull it. I hope you can see this. Just pulling it up there, teasing it together, just slowly. Then I'm going to slide the whole rig off the nail, like this. I'm still pinching those loops together, and I'm just shortening them up each time, just gradually cinching them down, and it's going to slide and whip down, bite into the fly line. Now don't pull it so hard that it strips the casing off the fly line. It can actually strip the casing off it. Just pull everything together, then let go of both tag ends. Just give it a tweak or two there. All you do then, you need to do is, you can snip this off really tight there, look. Snip off the tag end of your leader. Snip off the tag end of your fly line. And you have, let's move that out of the way, you have the nail knot. So that's a nice one, and that goes through the rod guides. It goes through your rod guides pretty well.